All right. Welcome, folks. Okay, give me a minute. Let me pause sound. All right, cool. So, welcome, folks, to a super interesting webinar. We have Karthik here with us today. He has a lot of experience. He has worked as an engineer at Flipkart, Intuit, Adobe, and he's going to talk about the other side of things, which is the topic is recruitment and how a hiring manager looks at recruitment. So, uh, over to you, Karthik. We'll start with to start this.
Thanks for the heads up, Swapnil. Thanks for having me here, and thanks to others who have joined here on Sunday afternoon. Uh, I'll just kindly give a quick intro about myself, and then we would just quickly touch upon the context for what we have gathered here. So I'm Karthik, and I'm founder at Thinkify Labs. We mostly help tier one engineering companies with their engineering vision. Um, Prior to Thinkify, I was at companies like Flipkart, Adobe, Intuit, and I've also cracked interviews at other well-known companies like, let's say, an Amazon or Microsoft. So here, the webinar, as Swapnil just said, is mostly to see interview or recruitment from a lens of the hiring manager, or how to impress the most difficult person on the panel so that you get the job which you want. Simple as that, right? So I'll just kind of quickly tell you why me and Swapnil decided to do this first. Probably recently we encountered a candidate who had a lot of knowledge but couldn't articulate his experience in form of well-structured stories, right? But when we sat with him for an hour or two, automatically the thought process started in a very coherent way. And eventually the candidate could land a job of his choice, right? So keeping that, we just thought, we should extend this experience to other folks as well, so that, they can land up in a job of their choice. So I'll kind of, draw parallels to what one has studied and how that can be leveraged in an interview or your past experience, right? So I'll just kind of keep it very simple. So to begin with, I'll paste my LinkedIn profile so that you guys understand what I have done. And I'll use my own case as an example as to how I would introduce myself in an interview, right? So firstly, whenever you talk about any of your projects or past experiences, make sure you have a crisp one-line introduction of it. So I'll give you very relevant examples. So at Adobe, I used to work on a product called Cold Fusion. So what I used to say is I worked on Cold Fusion, which released, what was the feature? So the feature which I worked was called WebSockets in Cold Fusion, right? And what exactly the product does. See, now nobody knows what an Adobe Cold Fusion does. So you will have to clearly give a one-line description of your product saying that Cold Fusion is a low-code or no-code platform which helps people to build websites. So similarly, think of one-line description of all the projects which you have done. I'm sure most of you guys have come from the Neo-G background. So what I would suggest is please make sure you have a one-line description of the projects which you have done at Neo-G Camp. Example, recently the candidate whom I just said minutes before had done an internal communication tool, but he still did not know how to sell it. So I kind of had to help him saying that, hey, you know what, you can say that this is a product which you build for the blue collar jobs guys who want to interact themselves within an organization. And that's when he was able to kind of connect the dots. So similarly, whatever projects you want to build, probably if anybody wants to paste their GitHub, please let me know. I'm happy to tell you a one-line description of all the projects which you have done, right? Also, Neo-G Camp helps you to do a component library, right? That is how I have seen they have made you guys write component libraries. You should be smart enough to leverage the component libraries throughout your interview in one way or the other. Why a component library? How the component library helped you to enhance the performance of your code? How component library helped you to reuse the code? So basically, the whole idea is if you apply first principles thinking, you would have done 10 things. Please try to draw parallels as to what among those 10 things you can correlate with the question asked. So example, if we go back, the chat communication guy who had built this product, he said that he used context before, and to ensure the re-rendering of the feed of a social media product he had done. Then he said that how he extended the product from context to using Redux to increase the performance. So here is a very common template, right? Here is a very common template, right? So what is the common template? Identify an area which you have already done. Identify an area you have already done. Example, I used context to do X. Realized its shortcomings. Migrated it to Redux. This is a simple example, right? So what is the hiring manager looking for at the end of the day? The hiring manager is looking for, are you eager to learn new things? Are you fast enough to adapt so that at the end of the day, the product is being shipped? These are the two major qualities which any person is looking for, right? Probably what are the usual stories which you can build around your profile / candidature is, like, let's say the manager might ask you, what is the new skill you have learned in the past 6 months? So probably what are the usual suspects for a front-end developer? Hey, you know what? I learned Tailwind CSS. Hey, you know what? I learned TypeScript. Hey, you know what? I integrated with a Twilio or a Razorpay. I did an SDK integration. Or if you want to take it any further, I tried my hand around React Native. So then you can clearly show a project to demonstrate your learning abilities. So basically, what is the hiring manager looking for the end of the day? To repeat myself, A, can you learn new things quickly? Can you adapt? Right? Adaptability is one of the key factors which a hiring manager is looking for. I see few people from Flipkart here, probably a good story of your big billion day would be very interesting because people would anticipate you to bring your big billion day stories. So example, optimization of performance. Have a good story around optimization of performance. How I did XYZ, how I did one, two, and three to optimize the performance on the front end. Just give me a second. Somehow the space is not working on my keyboard. How I did 1, 2, and 3 to optimize the performance on the web. Many a times, if you might have written one of the layers of the product in React, which might have to integrate with something which is there in native, right? That is again a area where you can integration with components with different architecture is a good story to talk about, right? Make sure that whatever you have built, again, I'll start from the component library. You need to be smart enough to plug in all the learnings of component library in one way or the other across your projects, right? The second thing is whatever is your best project, identify one project and make a best project out of it. And have a clear understanding as to how you can give an iterative progress of the project. Don't say that I did the project, everything in the first shot itself. Nobody can do it. You would know what is the iterative progress of your project subconsciously. You need to go back, pause, and reflect on every learning of yours, articulate it in very structured fashion, rehearse it before the interview, and then repeat it in the interview. So see, the whole process is people take interview process as casual. Please don't take it. And people also assume that most of the things whatever we say in an interview is obvious. It need not be. Manager might have a different interpretation. He might draw parallels to his own her own experience, and at the end of the day whatever you want to say might get misinterpreted in an interview. So kindly avoid. Please make sure you articulate the learnings or the progress, and make sure you structure it well and rehearse it, right? So probably hey Swapnil, would you mind sharing me Kaustub's GitHub link? I'll just kind of tell you the examples which I told Kaustub, and then I'm happy to do it with one of anyone's Git here as well. Is there anybody here in the audience who is yet to get a job? And please feel free to share your GitHub. I'm happy to, do a rehearsal with you guys itself right away. Hey, Swapnil, you want to nudge anyone to share their GitHub?
All right, let me. Okay, Srijit is here. I was going to point.
I think so. Srijit is ready to share as what I believe.
Yeah, just a minute. I'll paste the link in the chat.
Yeah. Meanwhile, here is Kaustub's.
Yeah, sure. First, I'll kind of, run through what I helped with respect to Kaustub's case. I'll just show you his GitHub.
Can you share screen?
Yeah, I'll just share the screen as well. Perfect. I'm just sharing the screen. Can you guys see the screen?
Not right now.
Just a second. Wait a second. I'll just try 1 second. Can you?
No, not right now.
Hold on for a second. I think so. I may have to rejoin. Just hold on for a second, please.
Sure. All right. So meanwhile, folks, this is a golden opportunity for you to ask any questions you might have. If you feel shy to ask publicly, just DM me either on Discord, or you can use the chat. Select drop down where everyone is written. Just select me. Just DM me. I'll ask on behalf of you. But yeah, this is a good opportunity to see things from the lens of.
Can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Perfect. I'll just go to Kaustub's GitHub. Yeah, so if you see Kaustub, right, Kaustub has done quite a few things over here. So again, I'll just kind of run through all the projects which he has done. So here is all the component libraries which he has done, right? Just be smart enough to leverage as to how you can talk about your component library as a story. That is A. So make sure component library sounds like your first baby step project, followed by he had done this project called Woofer Frontend, right? So Woofer Frontend is mostly the communication channel or the social media over here. So what was the learning which Kaustub eventually told me while we were prepping him for the interview is, so he did a feed, the social media feed, which was re-rendering continuously while he was using context. But later on, he moved it to Redux, and hence the performance improved drastically. Now, performance improving drastically is a touch vague. Please make sure you quantify your observations. Automatically, there will be a lot of respect from the other side of the panel once you start quantifying your learnings. So basically, this was the percentage, this was the performance. After doing XYZ, this is the performance. If you don't quantify, it becomes a problem. The product was able to handle so many concurrent requests. Now, after doing XYZ, the product is able to handle so many concurrent requests. Right? So the quantifying is very, very important. The other thing which would catch the attention of a hiring manager is always open source contributions. Now, I'll tell you why open source contributions become important. Open source contributions have a high standard of quality to maintain. So whenever any code needs to be checked in, it goes through a formal review process. The person who reviews those code would also be of very good pedigree. So the stress of the manager hand-holding you to do something as simple as code review is eliminated. So please make sure that, I think so you guys had a guy called Prabhav who had done a lot of open source contributions. I remember a girl called Kajal also who had done a lot of open source contributions. So probably what we are requesting you at the end of the day is, please make sure you do a lot of open source contributions. That will help you drastically or exponentially your chances to even get shortlisted for an interview, also get the job, right? Also coming back to the how do you want to put across stories, right? Many a times you would be screened by people who would not know coding. They might not be able to open their GitHub and see. So the first source of truth for you to, get in the attention of any job is go to any job description. So I'll just show you a few job descriptions on LinkedIn while I am sharing my screen. Tell me a company which you all guys want to join. Don't worry, I'll just take Amazon because Swapnil is ex-Amazon, so I'll start off with Amazon. Just hold on for a second. We'll just see any of the jobs over here. So let's take front-end engineer over here too. right? See the job description over here, right? Please make sure that you copy paste the keywords like how they appear in the job description, so that the probability of your resume getting shortlisted increases. It can be anything, right? Node.js. Please make sure even the capitalization of the words are also taken care of. Also, there might be a strong case where there might be saying that React or React like frameworks, like see here, they're even okay, even any big companies, right? The focus is more on problem solving or understanding if the individual knows the internals of the language. They're not too worried about any of the frameworks. Even if you're good in Angular and if you show something, they would consider you. I'll just kind of show you a very interesting profile over here who used to work with us at some point of time at Swiggy. Today he is at Cohesity, right? I'll just show you. He had written his own framework called creamy.io. Just a second. I'll just search it for you guys. So basically make sure you guys have enough interesting things so that it immediately catches your attention. So here is the guy, right? He has written his own framework, which is called creamy.js. He has written a creamy, he himself has written an altogether a framework. This is a JavaScript framework all by itself. Now you guys might come to me and say that, hey, what is the use of reinventing the wheel? Here, what is the candidate trying by doing this? He's saying that, I'm ready to do something new. I'm not, conformed to a monotonous thing. He is saying that, I can also create something altogether. Very, very interesting framework. What I would suggest you is you guys can find a few open source projects today and try to make one PR over there. What is the message you are sending to people who are hiring you? You are saying that, hey, you know what? I have open source or put or committed code to one of the well-known repos out there. I'm pretty sure that, I'm good enough to code in your repos. Right? This would definitely give a lot of confidence where people are hiring their first front-end engineer, and also give enough confidence for very well-known large companies to understand, hey, you know what, this guy at least has his or her basics in place. That's the whole agenda over here, right? Also coming back to your projects, right? What are the projects which you have? Just hold on for a second. I think so. We have, I'll just go to one of the Rocket resumes right here and kind of now just do a very hands-on activity. Just give me a sec. Probably the candidate who shared his thing. Probably Arpit wanted Atlassian. I'll take you through Atlassian as well, Arpit. Just hold on for a second. Thanks for calling out Atlassian. See, Atlassian and see, as long as you're cracking Amazon, you can crack most of the other companies out there. That's why I took Amazon as an example. So yes, the learning here from the job description is please read a lot of job descriptions to increase the probability of getting shortlisted. Please make sure that you copy paste words from JDs to your resume. See, all I'm trying to say is there is no rocket science behind this. Everything is already available in one form or the other. You should just be smart enough to know what to pick and from where. Yeah, this is a senior role, but I'm still opening it for you. See, basically, a deep understanding of the JavaScript is going to be the primary prerequisite for all the tier one companies. You should know the JavaScript internals controls in depth. That is going to be very, very key. Probably, when the other channel or area which everybody would have already gone through apart from your Neoji camp is Namaste JavaScript, another great channel which provides internals of JavaScript in a very structured fashion. You should know what is your closures, what is your promises, how does event loop work, so on and so forth, right? Those are like all bare minimum stuff. And please make sure that you have those basics in place, followed by one framework of your choice. Also, just know a bit of your backend. Also, you should at least be knowing how your front end is rendering what it is getting from your backend, right? At least our experience with Neoji guys in the past says that you guys have that bare minimum understanding. Probably I would say Airbnb. Okay, I like how the crowd has amazing aspirations. Good to know that. Just hold on for a second. I'm checking Airbnb as well. Again, right? Airbnb has an amazing GitHub repo. You can just go to an Airbnb or an Atlassian, try to keep contributing to anything small. You can even just close a bug over there and kind of make that happen. So the whole idea here is, I'll just show you. Is there a front-end engineer role? Not sure that I see of it. I'll show you a close friend of mine who works at Airbnb. So, you guys can get a better idea of that. Just give me a second. I'll just reset the search. Yeah. Yeah, so he is an ex-colleague of mine. He was largely responsible to bring in React Native apps here in India. So if I have to give you a lot of history around React Native apps across Indian startup ecosystem, Housing had a great React Native app at one point of time. This goes back to 2012, 2014 times, followed by Flipkart. Flipkart did an app called Flipkart Lite. This gentleman over here was majorly responsible, you can see it over here on his profile as well. Web app Flipkart Lite, and a lot of learnings came from Google as well, with whom we did. Probably I'll just show you one more profile of a candidate who started off as a fresher and has gone, reached great heights. So probably you can again see he has worked at places like Instagram or Facebook. All I'm trying to say is, if you don't know what to do all by yourself, or your intuition is not leading you, just follow the right set of people. I'm sure you guys all have a great mentor in Tanay itself, who has done a lot of wonderful things. And on the product side, you always have someone like Swapnil, who has already worked at companies like Amazon and Meesho, who kind of can show you the right direction. I'll just show you another guy who started off as a fresher and today is at Shopify. He was an intern at Flipkart, and I'm happy that I had a chance to mentor him at some point of time. So if you today see, right, this fellow is today at Shopify, and the kind of things he was able to crack and make was just amazing. I would just open his GitHub profile for you guys. And where you have studied, what you have studied are all like useless things beyond a point of time. And none of that should stop you from doing what you are doing on the right direction. Yeah, like he has a few funny repos as well, like hide Salman Khan FB feeds and all that stuff. This is an AMP. What does AMP stand for? This is an accelerated mobile page. This is what he did when he was at Flipkart as an intern. All we are trying to say is at the end of the day, please make sure you do something impactful. Don't copy paste or don't clone popular repos, which may or may not help you beyond a point of time. And I'm sure with respect to the kind of projects which you guys do, mostly, the boot camp which you guys have already taken is in the right direction. I can confidently say that, NeoGis plus Rocket is the best combination for you to get yourself upskilled as well as, get a job of your choice right now in the market. I hope that stays the same going forward as well. Open to questions. Any questions? Swapnil, if you want me to touch upon anything more. So again, I'll just kind of summarize for people if they couldn't grasp what I was trying to say in a very succinct fashion. The whole idea is please evaluate what are your projects. Just give me a second. I'm not too sure where the Zoom chat is. Please evaluate what you have done in your projects. Draw parallels from the same and leverage that in the questions. Draw parallels from the same and leverage that in your questions. So probably one common question is in any interview is like, what is the most challenging thing you have done? Most of us, what and all challenging things can we do, right? Most of you guys over here as audience have just started off your career. So probably, just have a very believable, likable answer to that from whatever you have learned during your journey. Probably one simple or easy way is if you have migrated your JavaScript React project to a TypeScript, that's a good way to explain. If you have done something like a Next.js, that is a good thing to explain. So what are your learning curves, right? That's JavaScript, React, follow it by TypeScript, follow it up by a Next.js. Similarly, the gentleman over there, Kaustubh, whom we had the privilege of interviewing last week, he had done a bit of Python backend as well. So he kind of said how he integrated his front-end code with WebSockets for his social networking site. So that was a good story to build around. And he kind of said that what are the problems he faced. So basically the structure is very simple. I did XYZ. These are the problems I faced. This is how I overcame the problem. Right? So a common template is that. So also you guys might have already heard a lot of stand-up comedy shows. I'm sure you would have seen how an artist plugs his opening joke at the end of the show as well. So the whole idea is keep all your projects as horizontals. Try to connect the dots from each of the work which you have done and see what are the challenges. So the interview starts unfolding in a very organic way once you get to know. Yeah, hero's journey, show problem, show resolution. Correct. See, that's why we need a product manager in a team, right? to summarize in a very easy way so that everyone can relate.
Definitely. Karthik, I just had a question, which is like, do you remember any interesting stories since like you have interviewed a ton of folks? Like, what are some like unusual stories that you have come across wherein instantly you were hooked to their story?
Right. So probably, one of the stories which we kind of relate is stories of scale are always, interesting to hear, as long as they are believable. At times, people go overboard while talking about their stories of scale, which kind of, makes us a bit awkward at the end of the conversation. Generally, this happens mostly in back-end interviews. Well, like probably if somebody asks you how was your DB design, how was your cache design, people come up with stories which kind of might go overboard at point of time. So probably what is what the flavor should be is stories of migrations, stories of scale are always interesting, or stories of integrations are always the stories which the other people want to hear. So what I'm trying to say to any job aspirant out there is, don't focus too much on a very attractive story. Say a very simple story which can be believed on the other side of the table, and also ensure that it enhances the skills for which you're interviewing. Like let's say you go to a front end job, if we keep talking about your back end challenges, the hiring manager would be a bit confused. He might say that, hey, there is a back end job out there, why don't you apply for that, right? So try to understand what you're applying for. You're applying for a front end role. Make sure that you have your stories intact for that particular role.
All right, all right. Kali, did we review these GitHub links which were sent in the chat?
Just give me a second. I think so. Probably you may have to send them again.
Yeah,
I think so. The guy who wanted was.
yeah.
Swapnil, may I ask a question? I have a question regarding
Yes.
from HM. Yeah. So Karthik, recently I have given an interview in a company called Adobe. In the third round, where it was hiring manager round, I did share my experience from my current job. So in my current job, I'm working for a early stage startup, and at there we are just only 3 to 4 front-end developers, and I am the oldest one out there. So I am kind of leading the team. You can say not exactly, but yeah, kind of. And the thing which I have told to the hiring manager that I am kind of leading a team and managing a small team. We are 2, 3 interns and 2 developers. So he didn't like that thing, I guess, and he told me no, not to lead the team and no, go and do problem solving and more engineering on this. So is it right to say you are leading a team or this leadership role as early in your career? Because I just only have 2 years of experience as of now.
Sure. So probably if I understood the question correctly, right? The manager had a problem with you doing it in a team.
Yeah, exactly. He told me that like at the end of the interview, he told me not to go and tell your founders that I'm not going to lead the team. I will just do engineering, normal basic stuff, problem solving, and do code development and all. Don't go into leading team and all. This was the like last words at that round. He told me.
Got it. And did you get into that job? Did you not get into?
No. It
Okay.
was Adobe. I was subjecting that round only. I cleared 2 front end, one back DSA and front end round. After that, third round, HM round.
Sure. So now here I'll tell you clearly what managers' concerns are, right? Firstly, hello.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. So firstly, I'll tell you what is the manager concern, right? Firstly, he thinks that you are applying for a lead role, and with 2 years of experience, he thinks that might not be correct. So probably a manager wants an individual contributor. So first, try to understand where you're applying. If you're applying for a startup, don't talk about your leadership abilities to start with,
Okay.
especially with your 0 to 3 experience bucket. Just make sure you talk about how you have done your individual contributing things. So what are your individual contributions? I have done XYZ. I have done a project over here. I have just say that I'm a good team player. if your focus is these are the mistakes which I have done. I'll tell you a very personal experience, right? I interviewed at Couchbase probably several years ago. I was very keen to be a manager there. So I clearly told them, these are my aspirations. So they clearly said that we don't have any manager role at this point of time. All we are looking for is a individual contributor. Are you interested? Come, otherwise don't come. So the whole point at the end of the day is play the player, play the role, right? So if you first try to understand whether a startup requires a manager with 2 to 3 years of experience, no, it wouldn't, right?
Right.
So first try to understand I'm an individual contributor, say what are your ability to contribute. If you want to say that I want to lead a team, you're saying that in a very subtle way by saying that I work well with teams, right? So if the
Right.
interview is really going well, you and manager are having a great time, then you can always say that, I also aspire to lead teams. If there is an opportunity for that, please let me know,
Okay.
right? You should gauge the emotions of the other person while in an interview. If the interview is going great, then obviously open up and show different cards. But if the interview is going in a neutral way, if the other person is not showing his emotions, then all you have to be is, keep it, in a very subtle way and say that, I work well with teams. I'm happy to take more initiatives if there are any in the company so that, I can be more helpful to the organization at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank
I'll
you, sir.
add another perspective to this. So when you say to a hiring manager that you like doing something and which is
Mhm.
not really on the cards for the job description you're applying for, what you're also signaling is that you might not work for a long term there because what you like is not really something that the new job is providing. So as a hiring manager, if I'm hiring and I sense that you are looking for something and I cannot give you that in my current opening that I'm looking to close, even if you join tomorrow, even if you're an immediate join, you can join tomorrow. But I know that within the next few months, you'll keep looking out and you'll jump ship as soon as you get that fulfilled at some other place. So, like just adding some perspective there.
I think so that's a great point, Swapnil. I completely agree with you. That also kind of diminishes your opportunity to get the job because your long-term ambitions might not align as well. So probably the other reason why the manager might not have hired you is because of that.
Okay. I'll take care of it.
Because they
Thank
might
you.
not have any lead/manager responsibilities even for the next 2 years.
Yeah, right, right. I got
Right.
you. Yeah.
So
Thanks a lot.
I'm just
Swapnil.
opening the social circus of Srijit's thing over here. Hey Srijit, I'm just running through.
Yeah,
So
Karthik.
this is for everyone. There are two projects over here. One is called, okay, there are multiple ones. Just give me a second. I'm just seeing it over here.
I've pinned them in the overview, Karthik. So,
Yeah, you've pinned them. Thank
yeah.
you. So have you done a component library?
Yes, I have.
And now tell me what is that you want to talk about your component library?
Okay. It's
Firstly,
the
let's try
irrigation
to
tool.
understand why anybody does a component library, right?
Hmm.
So component library is done to bring uniformity to the code,
Correct.
right? So now
Yes.
why do you need uniformity to the code? So that it can be reused,
Correct.
right? Why do you need reusability? So that the software standards are good and ensure that whatever we are building scales well,
Correct.
right? So now
Yes.
everybody knows why a component library is made. Component library is made for uniformity of the code so that it gets aligned to the best practices and ensure that the application which we are building is scalable.
Hmm.
So this is one line for your component library project,
Got it. Yeah.
right? So now what is the next thing you have built? You have built something called Mind Palace.
Yes.
Now let's try to understand what is Mind Palace.
It's a video library app.
Correct. So this is a video library app. Now, what was the most challenging thing which you faced over here?
I think it was handling the database. This
Okay.
was the first time I was working with a database.
Okay.
So yeah, up until now, I had a basic understanding of context, but this project, it really drive through that idea. Why I'm using a context, basically.
Got it. So now, Srijit, can you just run me through how you used your component library while building this project?
Yes. So all the components that I've made, my component library basically acts like Tailwind. So I have class-based uh, parameters, which I can just write it in the class, and it will take it up. So while creating the components, I use those specific class sets to design them.
Okay. So like now I'll ask you, are these components scalable across devices, across browsers?
Yes, they are.
Okay. So now this is a nice way to again go back to your component library and say that to ensure compatibility across devices, across browsers, we use
Uh,
component libraries.
Component library, got it. So
Okay.
we're
So
driving back the point why it is
correct.
important.
Correct. Exactly. Exactly.
Okay.
All right. So we will just open here one of the code, which is called horizontal video card. So here you have written React hooks,
Hmm.
right? So now
Yes,
people will ask you, what is React hooks? That is the
correct,
next possible question whenever they open,
correct.
right? So now you should be, so here, what is the concept which one can see over here is React hooks. What
Correct.
was before React hooks?
Uh, I didn't get that.
What was the construct in React before React hooks came?
Class components.
Correct.
So
Correct.
yeah.
So now what you have to do is, earlier I had written my components using class components.
Hmm.
Later, I improvised them using React hooks.
Got it. Yeah.
Right?
Okay.
Thus, again, enforcing more of the actual constructs provided by the React framework.
Hmm.
Again, you have to just say three advantages of React hooks. You don't have to do anything rocket science.
Got it. So
Now, let's
basically, giving an explanation of why I'm using what I'm using.
correct. Why your whys should be in place.
Got it.
Once you start having your whys in place, people will get to know that you are aware of the
The
core
concepts
stuff,
behind. Yeah.
core stuff, and that is
Got it.
when your thing will start falling in place. Now, is there any place where you have showed debouncing?
Not. I don't think it's there.
Oh,
I
so
didn't push it.
I'll tell you the all the audience one more easy hack.
Hmm.
Always talk about search feature. Once you start talking about search feature, people think you're intelligent.
Okay.
Right? Whether you're intelligent or not is a different story, but people will think that you're intelligent. So, firstly, make sure you write one search component here,
Got it.
right? So, once
Yeah.
you have to write search component, what you have to do, you have to make debouncing, you have to make throttling.
Hmm.
See, first, basically, sit together, make a list of concepts where you're strong at.
Okay.
Your stories should automatically revolve around the concepts where you're strong at.
Hmm.
Right? So, like, let's say today you're strong at debouncing and throttling, or you should be
Hmm.
smart enough to anticipate the next question. The moment you say search component, the next obvious questions are, have you implemented debouncing here?
Correct.
So now you have already anticipated the next question. So you would have already prepared for your next question, and hence you know the answer. So the
Yeah.
probability of you cracking the interview increases manifold.
Got it. So we
Right?
decide the flow. Yeah.
You decide the flow, correct? You decide the flow, right? So you then become Redux. Okay, the flow of data becomes seamless. Okay, that was a poor joke. Sorry. So you have done Flipkart listing clone. Let me open Flipkart listing clone. So again, you have written sort, you have written components. So again, you have everything. Please make sure that you guys talk about concepts around search, or just talk about re-rendering, talk about performance optimization, so on and so forth. These are all favorite topics of migrations, are all favorite topics of any hiring panel.
Got it.
Right?
Yeah.
And also try to showcase how you kind of kept user point of view always in mind before doing anything. What is your other major project which you have done? I think so, the social circus.
Yeah.
And what does social circus do? It is a social media network platform, right? So again, here you have used Redux. You can talk about your Redux over here. Looks like you have used Redux toolkit, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I've used Redux toolkit.
Oh, okay. Cool. Generally, make sure you write your reducers if you're using Redux. That will increase your chances of being shortlisted as a good resume.
Got it.
You have written a lot of ones over here. Good.
Yeah, I broke them down in this
Here you
project.
have written something for error. You can write something for exception also, a component for exception, how your exception should look everywhere.
Okay.
Okay. Also, you guys can talk about design paradigms, like let's say a micro front end. What is a micro front end? How will it add value? So on and so forth. Basically, the whole idea is there will be a set of new trends which is coming every day. Make sure you follow a few good developers who are in US, because the trends in US are generally ahead of trends in India.
Okay.
I'll also tell you one thing. Recently, Airbnb has started as to why React is a useless framework to use. Now, don't apply to a React job and then in the interview and start talking why React is useless. In that case, you shouldn't have applied to the job itself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Please know the limitations of why you are there, at where you are there in the first place. See, at the end of the day, we all need food on our plate, and hence we need a job. Right? Be it React, Vue, Angular, these things come and go every 6 days. So what I would also appreciate is you have written an utils folder. This is good, but just make sure you think of writing more utils over there.
Got it.
So again, while explaining in any interview, what I would suggest is figure concepts. What are your concepts? In JS, it is closures, promises, event bubbling, currying, so on and so forth. Understand why they are as constructs in first place. And hence know their advantages. Smartly plug them in your answers. That's the summary. Any questions? Feel free to shoot.
Yeah, I did have a question, Karthik. So in one of my this is Srijit.
Yeah, go ahead.
So in one of my interviews, I got an assignment and I did that and I sent it to them, and they had sent a detailed feedback, which the basic summary was I hadn't done the performance optimizations with regard to network calls, and a lot of basically they were saying that you don't have to use a state here, you can use something else. And I wasn't aware of it, to be honest. And I asked a few senior folks of our team, like, where can I learn more about this? And the general consensus that I got was you learn as you start working in a job. But when they're expecting it in an interview, what do you say? Like, how do you write performant React? Yeah.
See, I'll just be honest, right? Probably I have seen people who are still in their second year college writing amazing code better than 5-year experienced guys. See, do you have a control on what the company is expecting? No. Right? None of us have control as to what the company is expecting out of us, so forget it there. And if you couldn't clear that interview, the world is not going to end for you. There's so many other opportunities at the end of the day, right? So the point which I'm driving is, don't worry about things which are not in your control. If you have failed in an interview, and if you have got your feedback captured as to why you couldn't crack, don't worry as to what stage of your career you are. Just put your head down and start preparing.
Got it.
Because that's the only thing we can do, right? What else can we do?
Correct. Yeah.
And you know, over a cup of coffee and your tea time break, you can bitch about the company as much as you want to, if it makes you feel better. But at the end of the day, that's not going to help. Right? So just focus on where you have to, and then and ensure that you improve day in and day out. Probably what I would suggest is keep a good set of boilerplates
Okay.
before doing any machine coding assignment.
Okay.
And know how to reuse those boilerplates. This is an advice to everybody on the call. Please make sure you have a good set of boilerplates. Reuse them smartly for any machine coding assignment which is given by any of the companies for your interview.
Got it. Yeah. Yeah, that's all, Karthik. Thanks for doing this.
Sure. Thanks so much. Okay, anyone else?
Folks, last call for questions. I'll wrap this up. Like, this is a topic which I feel like we can talk on and on. There's no like end to it. Yeah.
Hey, Supriya, yes, you can ask for a feedback at the end of the interview. And then even after the interview, feel free to write a mail to the panel so that, you know, you can always hear what the feedback is. I think so. Somebody says, any tips for LinkedIn optimization? Yes, LinkedIn optimization, it's again very simple. I showed you a few very interesting profiles over there who was working for Airbnb and other stuff. Look up to UI developers whom you want to become. See what is written on their LinkedIn. Understand what you have done. See the similarities. Improve your LinkedIn. Go to the JDs, see what people want in the industry, start showcasing the same in your LinkedIn. Those are the two ways to optimize your LinkedIn and make it more sellable. Supriya, just to summarize your question, yes, please ask for a feedback at the end of the interview. In person is better. Post interview, please do ensure that you write an email. If you still don't get the feedback, please ensure you call and request the person to give you a feedback. If you already know where you went wrong in the interview, you kind of already know your feedback. So, you know, like don't chase that thread too much.
Yeah. Just to add to that, think of it as like it has upside, but it has like zero downside. Like
Correct.
nobody will ever reject you for following up more. Like nobody will followed up 3 times in one day. So this is the reason why I'm rejecting you. Like not like I have like 0 instances of this in this industry for over 2 years now. Like that never happens. And some upsides which might be not be very obvious to you and obvious to us because we have been on the other side, which is, let's say if I'm a hiring manager and I wanted to close multiple positions, so there were some I closed for sure, and there are some people who are sort of on the wait list. It's that's the best way to describe it, which is I might hire them, I might not hire them, I've not made the call yet, and I'm still exploring other candidates. And if out of them, let's say one person follows up, then I can clearly see that, okay, this person has higher agency. This person wants to work for this company. This person is interested in knowing the feedback for improvements in their further rounds. And that itself stands you apart from the other candidates. So like in quick summary, there's like 0 downside from following up and like massive upside. So like always do that.
Sure. I think so. Avdut had a question where he said that, whether these stories should be written in README or not, or just explained in the interview. Please make sure you have your README's content separate from your interview content. If everything is written on your README, you would not have too many things to say in the interview. He did have an interview experience where the interviewer straight up said he'll share the feedback to the HR only. Felt quite weird actually. See, I'll tell you what is the problem, right? Few people are not comfortable sharing the feedback, especially engineers. This is generally a culture in larger organizations, or generally, I'll give you another hint. If the feedback is not great, generally people say, I'll give it to the HR. If the feedback is good, they'll just straight away come. Like, I attended few interviews, I asked them for feedback, they were like, we can't say like that. Okay, so see, again, I kind of relate to this. Yes, companies are are weird with their feedbacks and all their feedback loops. Um, See, generally, right, try to kind of self-evaluate or introspect post every interview. What are the areas it went right? What are the areas which went wrong? Generally, if you're preparing, aggressively, right, if you would have cleared or got rejected in an interview by the end of it. Probably you guys are just starting off your journeys, so I kind of, relate to your confusion. But over a period of time, you generally know. What company was this, Supriya? Like a startup, a large sized organization? Sure. Yeah, MNCs generally have this problem. I'll tell you what is the other problem. The talent acquisition people are a bit lazy to even follow up and get the feedback. Because too many people, right? Nobody knows who is where. So
Are there more questions? Like, I think like at this point, people are just DMing you, Karthik. Like, I don't see the questions in the main chat. Yeah, like all direct messages to you.
yeah, they're all direct messages to me.
This is like all like, like I feel weird about this because like this topic is important, which is everyone wants feedback in the interview journeys, but
Right.
nobody wants to talk openly about it. There's some, I don't know, some guilt or something attached, some stigma attached to it,
Right.
which sort of if people can just come out of that, I think that would be like super amazing for the growth journeys.
True. I kind of agree with you. So probably please open up if you guys were not comfortable asking any questions, please relate through Swapnil. Happy to answer all of your questions, and help you in more ways than one.
All right. Since I don't have visibility, Karthik, any pending questions or should we wrap
No,
this up?
I mean, what about cold mails is what Supriya asked. Hey, cold mails to whom? Cold mails to, see, basically post every interview, right? Just do a simple exercise of connecting everyone on LinkedIn. Whomever interviewed you. That's like a very simple way to keep your network growing over a period of few years. Even if you're not cracking interviews, your network would grow like manifold, and that would have various advantages. And generally, the soft signal is if you have been good in the interview, people will accept your connect as well. And once people have accepted, you can write a cold mail. You can also ask, like, let's say probably one of the questions which you had missed answering, you can just use that as a hook and say that, hey, here is a question which you had asked, and this was the answer I gave. But then as an afterthought, I thought this can be improved to something else as well. Yeah, but again, don't end up writing a cold email. You said something in the interview which is completely wrong and all that stuff. So don't end up, your email into an argument with any of the interview panel. You would just be botching up your chances of getting shortlisted.
Right. Cool. So I've asked this multiple times already, but folks, if you have any questions, final call, else we'll wrap this up. Okay, I think one question we have, which is an anonymous question, is how often should I follow up for response? Yeah.
See, there are two reasons why any company would delay, right? And right now, the current market is a season of being delayed because no company is sure about the requirements itself. Requirement might be there today, it might not be there tomorrow. It is that volatile. So kind of, if you think that the company is not coming back because of the market conditions, then they're not going to come back in the near future. If it is because of your ability to crack the interview, then if somebody doesn't come back to you, I think so. We have interviewed a few people from you guys, and we couldn't close the loop in 2 weeks because due to various reasons, right? We are not too sure about whether the requirement is still there or not. B, we also had a few better candidates than whom we had to make wait. So we kind of ensure that we communicate as much as we can. Anything beyond 2 weeks, just move on. 2 weeks is the maximum.
Right. All right. Cool. Then I think we'll wrap this up. Otherwise, we'll just keep on extending this. But yeah, folks, if you have any questions, feel free to DM me. Whenever we have enough questions, we can maybe, I'm just like making this ask on the call, but yeah, maybe we can get Karthik back when we have a good number of questions.
Sure. Happy to answer as many post this call as well, because I kind of completely understand that people might not be comfortable asking, or it may not be crossing their mind at this point of time. Happy to answer more questions at any point of time through any channels. Always a message away on LinkedIn. Feel free to connect. Thanks for having me here, Swapnil, and it was wonderful doing this on a Sunday.
Yeah, same here. Thanks, Karthik, for taking out the time, and thanks everyone else for turning up on a Sunday afternoon and asking good questions. I think we had a ton of insights, which I think, like, if you have not taken notes during the session, maybe if you just post some insights in our Discord channel, and you can learn just as a refresher from each other.
Sure. I'm happy to send out a Notion site link as well with the learnings, which you can share across to the larger audience on Discord.
Awesome. Thank you. Definitely, I'll share that across. All right. With that, we'll wrap this up. Thank you, folks, for attending again, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thanks so much.